Welcome to day 3, the final day of the HoN tournament here at the DreamHack Winter 2013. I promised this interview yesterday, but it didn't quite work out. This time I actually got him, the one and only captain of Internet Gangsters, iNsania. iNsania, how you feeling? You've been a little bit sick. How are you holding up?
I'm still a little bit sick, but I'm feeling better. I was very bummed out about the loss, but yeah, no, I'm feeling better. Thank you for asking.
Of course. Was your sickness affecting your game at all? Your leadership in the game? I think you mentioned something towards me. Was it a big factor?
No, I don't think. I mean, of course, when you're not able to be as loud and as precise as you want to be, you don't have the energy you would when you're not sick. Of course, it affects you, but I don't think it was a decisive factor.
Then we're going to talk about the decisive factors. It was a rather mediocre tournament for you, just basically 2 wins, and then you were out of the tournament against Lions. What went wrong in this tournament? How would you? What was the major flaw?
Well, I think our 2 biggest issues as a team have been our lack of communication within our team and the drafting. Sometimes we have these spot-on drafts that are really, really good, really well thought through, and they work out perfectly. And then the other time, you just get these drafts that completely flop. And I think it comes down to our hero limitations, and we really got punished for it at the DreamHack, because people came prepared for the heroes that we like to play, and we didn't have any way to work around that.
I've seen you a little bit frustrated especially after the loss against the Nile. You were a little bit bummed out. You were really, really angry. I don't know, at you or at your players, how did you deal with this in the game, and how did you dealt with it afterwards? Did you talk it through or something?
I mean, I was mostly annoyed with myself, because normally what I will do at home and during the drafting stage is I'll just leave Skype and I'll do it all on my own. Now I had input coming in 24/7 from my team, and of course that's good. You always need to have somebody to question your decisions. See, is this really the right decision? So you think about it twice. But instead what happened was I stopped looking at the draft as I should have and just started picking the heroes that my players wanted to play. And of course that's good. You always want to give players the heroes that they're comfortable on and the ones they like to play. But it needs to synergize as well, which our lineups completely didn't. And it was so bad against Nile. So most of my anger was towards myself, really.
Can you say anything about the future of the team? Are you going to stay together, or are changes planned?
It's hard to say at this point. We're probably going to stay together. We haven't had the chance to talk about it yet as a team, but none of us are really as much angry at each other as I think we are disappointed with ourselves, because coming into the tournament we had a lot of high hopes. We had a lot of strategies that we wanted to run against Stay Green specifically, as we thought we'd play them in the finals, and against TMSR as well. But due to lackluster performance in the group stages, we weren't even able to get to that point where all our preparation would pay off.
You say lackluster performance, you accounted it a little bit to the draft. Did nerves play a role? Fabelli was here for the first time. Did you see any change in his game, or was he just as normal and had no effect on the team's performance?
In all honesty, it's hard to say when your drafts were this week. I feel like most of our games that we lost, we really didn't, we didn't even get to the point where our players were allowed to shine. They weren't allowed to show off their skill. So it's hard to say, but I know for a fact that Zergo was very nervous. He had a little bit of a poor performance last DreamHack, and he was a little bit worried that he would again. And I think that affected him a bit, but in the greater picture, I mean, it really just for us really came down to the drafts, and you can't really talk about player performances when the drafts are this week. We never had a chance to win after the drafting stage, or we already won the game by the drafting stage.
Okay, then we're going to close the chapter of DreamHack and talk about the grand final. We've just seen the first map of the Nile Esports against Stay Green. First of all, did you expect in your wildest dream that this is going to be the grand final of the DreamHack Winter 2013?
Honestly, no. I think the Nile have pulled out an amazing performance, and I think it's a lot due to the fact that they've listened. You know, Swindlemels goes on stream, he goes on HoNcast very often, and he keeps saying Tundra is incredibly strong. Tundra is so good, just people don't know how to play him. So what did Nile do? They got one of their players and they practiced Tundra like crazy, and it paid off. I really think every single game that they won, that they shouldn't have won, or however you want to say it, they had Tundra in it. And Slap is known to play a very good pair slide, and the 2 heroes synergize perfectly together. So he used that. I think very smart drafting and good leadership really brought them to the finals.
You said he listens to people. You were one of the people that talked to him right before the match. What advice did you give him?
basically, I try to make sure that he has a game plan. He knows what he wants to do against them. Because often when you go into a drafting stage, you want to have an idea of what is Kyle going to do, or Swindle going to do. What am I going to respond with? What is he going to pick towards what I respond with? And then try and paint out the entire picture as far as you can so that you can get an optimal lineup. So you will know. Because it's very hard to see what... Like, when the lineup is done, when you got all 5 heroes ready for both sides, when the draft is finished, it's very easy to see which team has a stronger draft. And I mean, it's always easy to be Captain Hindsight. So try and do that before you go into the game. And I was trying to get him into the track of thinking, like, positive reinforcement. Always make sure your players feel comfortable playing. And if something goes bad, don't talk about it during the game. Just leave it and move on. Every time you do something good, positive reinforcement. It's really the key to performing well at LAN, I think.
You talked to Slap, but you're also very good friends with Kyle. For whom are you rooting in this match?
It's hard to say. I like both teams. I wouldn't want any of the teams to lose, but unfortunately that's not the case. So the answer I've been giving is I like Swindle, Limp, Chessy, Minuts, and Z-Freak to win, but I don't want SG to win. So feel free to interpret as you please.
Everyone can do that. Let's talk a little bit about the first game that we just saw. It was a little bit one-sided. What's your take on it?
I think the difference between Swindle and TMSR was that Swindle recognizes what made the difference, and he wasn't afraid to ban it. He didn't allow them to get Tundra, and Slap just moved away from the lineups that they've been doing great with. Tundra really was the core of their lineup, but I think they could have created a similar strategy, even without Tundra, where they played this high-pressure game and they run the lineups around, like, that's made around the Parasite, which really is Slap's core hero. As a captain, you always want to build a team around yourself because you're the one making the decisions at the end of the day. So if you have a good game, it's much easier to make decisions and much easier to have a clear picture of what's happening. So when you have a bad game, or like, I know personally when I'm stuck on a second support and I don't feel like I can do anything, morale tends to go down. However, when you're on a jungler and you're snowballing and you're doing great, morale goes up. You know what to do. You know what decisions you need to make to win the game. So build around the captain is really key, I think.
Do you think Slap has the ability to rebound and the whole Denial team to just adjust to the mistakes and maybe push this 1 to 3 maps?
I hope they do. I really hope they do. It would be a shame to see another game like this one. I think if they got an hour now to prepare for the second game, they know what kind of a lineup Staggering decided to run for. So hopefully he'll go back to the lineups that he's been doing good at here at DreamHack, and that'll help him out. Push it for game 3 at least.
Okay, then I want your prediction to close this one. How is the grand final gonna end?
I think it's going to be another very similar game to game number 1, but I hope for the best.
So 2-0 SG?
Yeah.
Okay. You have any shoutouts you want to make?
A shout out to my team, shout out to Swindle, shout out to Lions, shout out to TMSR, shout out to all the people that make DreamHack great, yourself included, and I really, really hope we can have another DreamHack again.
Well, I hope so too, and if that is the case, we're going to be there. But we're also going to be back later on today with a winner's interview, so stay tuned. We're going to have great pictures from the venue, from the Dream Arena, from every team that's there, the audience. It's going to be super insane, so stay tuned to our coverage up. We're going to be back.